What's up? Hey, it's Mike. It's Matt. And it's Colin.
Vlog. And we're Penn State men's gymnastics.
No shoe kickflip for bows.
Oh. 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 That's a deep one.
Wow, I've never seen that one.
Wow. It's.
Yalla. Michael Giroux here, and thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to watch this video. The past week or so, following my 5th and final NCAA championships, I have been unsure of how I wanted to film this video, but I thought maybe I should write something down, collect my thoughts, and I think I was just waiting for it to happen, and I think I was struck with this paralyzation of I don't know what to say. So I figured I might as well just record it now. It's Tuesday, April 29th. Yep, Tuesday, April 29th, 9:16 a.m. And this is the story of my NCAA Penn State gymnastics career. Let's dive right in. What started out as a 18-year-old boy who didn't know if he wanted to go to college or pursue a social media career and move into a content house in LA or wherever the weather was best fit, turned into a boy who refound his love and passion for a sport that had built him up, a sport that had developed his character in ways that nothing else in his life ever had. It turned into a boy who would come to Penn State and find that everything he could have ever dreamed of, everything that he had dreamed of, everything he had desired was all in a 5-mile radius. And he was smack dab in the center, living in a rusty dorm called Hartranft Hall, only about 300 yards from his gym where he would spend the most of his time. During COVID, the time was weird, with being in the lockdown dorms and not getting to or not truly being allowed to see your friends and see the student body, but it didn't really matter to an 18-year-old boy who was in college for the first time and was surrounded by more people his age than he'd ever known. And needless to say, I broke some rules, but yeah, definitely broke some rules. There's no but there. But anyway, I went on to have a amazing freshman year. I was doing really easy routines for me, but that was the purpose of that, was to build confidence in myself on the competition floor. Everyone in the country knew I was a great gymnast. I had a lot of talent and I could do really hard skills, but when the day came to compete, was I able to do it? And that was something I struggled with a lot in high school. It was very hit or miss. And in college, we started to change that. And I thank my Penn State coaches a lot for that, because their plan of building my confidence definitely worked, and it changed my look and my attitude towards not only the competition floor, but also the training. I trained really hard my freshman year. I didn't really care about school. I just wanted to have fun, compete well, and reap the rewards of my success. Not only in the gym, but my success on social media, coming in with 2.1 million followers on TikTok and 250,000 followers on Instagram. I was very well known to people that I had never seen in my life. And that made college a very weird experience for me, at least at first. I wasn't sure how to deal with the presence that I had. I wasn't sure how to go about being known, and I let it boost my ego up in ways that were very unhealthy. My self-worth was dependent on if someone knew me or not, and if they thought that I was cool or not. And even if they knew me and thought that I was a weirdo, I still fed that ego, but in a toxic way. Either way, all that feeding would soon break down, way before I knew it. But back to the gymnastics part. My freshman year, I had some of the best memories I would ever have. I have a Gene Whetstone here on the wall, Gene Whetstone Award on the wall. That was probably my best competition, maybe of my entire collegiate career. I think I scored a 70.9 with only 5 events, which means I needed a 9.1 to get an 80, which is a respectable score for an all-rounder. I was gymnast of the week and freshman of the week that week, and it was an awesome competition. I also ended the year not how I wanted to. Let me sit down for this. I ended the year without an All-American, without any Big Ten awards, other than I was 5th place on like 4 events, and then I got these are my freshman year awards. I got the All Big Ten First Team All Conference Men's Gymnastics 2021 as a freshman. This is a very high honor. Wow, it's got a lot of dust. That's just, kind of proof of the notion I've come to realize is that these awards are cool, and the pursuit of getting them is amazing. The pursuit is actually what makes it worth it, and the character building and the lessons learned from all of them. But the award itself, this thing's going to collect dust. It's a beautiful award. Very grateful for it, and I'm grateful for everything that it took to get it, but it's not about the award. It's about the award that you gain in your spirit, not the award that is going to sit on your shelf and collect dust. But anyway, if it weren't for the pursuit, and I wasn't even pursuing this award, but the pursuit of the highest level of gymnastics I could compete, I wouldn't have learned those lessons. I wouldn't have gone through what I gone through. And my freshman year, also, I was able to get the Penn State Men's Gymnastics 2021 Most Valuable Gymnast. This is a sweet award. This is a really cool award to have your own shrine, and the meaning of that goes behind it is just something beyond. It's beyond me. I'm stoked to be a part of this. My name will forever be in history. In I think it's the Visitor Center in our football stadium. So, yeah, this is a really cool award. But still, it has dust. So, we move on to summer after my freshman year, and I was training hard. It was the Olympics. I hadn't finished the season how I wanted to, and I wouldn't qualify to U.S. championships, and that meant my road was done. There was no Olympics for me. And, that kind of stung. It didn't sting too bad because I didn't really try that hard. I wasn't focused on the Olympics. I worked really hard a lot of my life, but the Olympics is more than a 1-year pursuit. It's more than a 1-month pursuit. And I think for me, I had lost sight of going to that Tokyo Olympics probably when I was about 15 years old. I started to get a little bit more complacent, less focused on, hey, like if I want to go here in 4 years, I got to be doing this now. And I understand that now, but even at that time when I didn't make it in 2021, I still didn't understand that. And not making it, if I really wanted to go to the next one, should have lit a fire in me like, hey, I got to start working now. But either way, I had a lot of fun that summer. I traveled, went to Miami, Tampa, LA, got to train in a bunch of different places, go home for a while. And then by the time I got back for my sophomore year, I was about 15 pounds underweight compared to what I was as I finished my freshman season. So now I just spent an entire summer losing a lot of the gains that I had built up my freshman year, which was kind of a bummer, and I didn't even realize what I was doing to myself. But I wasn't focused on the nutrition. I wasn't focused on the recovery. I was just focused on having fun and doing good gymnastics. I was really light and I was really weak. There was no way I was going to be able to last a collegiate season with that body. So I'm at a building phase, and I'm working my tail off my sophomore year. I'm a little bit more disciplined than I was freshman year. I wasn't, I had a girlfriend, but that's besides the fact. I wasn't pursuing the fun that you could have on a Friday night. I was pursuing the fun I would have Saturday afternoon at the meet when the lights were on. And I think that having that, I started to understand that there's a balance in life. You only get so many highs and so many lows. And if I decided to have my highs at a place that they were actually super low, which would be at the party, having this numbing fun, then I realized that I probably wouldn't have it Saturday afternoon when it mattered. So it was a commitment that I started to learn about. I started to learn about what it meant to walk in faith without understanding what faith actually was. And I started to learn that delayed gratification is really the only way to actually excel and get better. So I'm learning this, but still I'm like going through the motions, but not understanding why anything's like quite happening exactly. I just know if I work hard and I give up some things, I'll do better. But I don't understand quite why this is, or how to hold on to that even when I'm not pursuing gymnastics. But either way, had a great sophomore year. Again, would go on to earn this time 4 awards. So started out with my Winter Cup 3rd place high bar routine, 2022, which was my first Winter Cup that I ever got an award at, which is awesome. It's my only Winter Cup I've ever gotten an award at. Just missed national team here. I was pretty upset about that. I'd worked really hard, but you know what? I was just happy I got to compete, and that was a blessing. And then a couple months later, we had Big Tens. Again, all Big Ten first team, 2022. And I ended up getting 3rd place on vault, which, if you know the story, Cameron Nelson got first, and this isn't a diss to Cameron, but the judge that, quote-unquote, didn't see me do my vault, even though I was the only one doing anything in the entire meet. I saluted, they called my name, and they were all looking at me, except for the one judge that was like this, and then looked at me right as I landed. They gave me a 0, had me redo my vault, and I stuck it the first one. The second one, I took a 3/10 step, and really it's 4/10 because you get the stick bonus. I got a 14.5. They had me at a 14.9 in the beginning, which would have gotten me the gold. I got the bronze. Grateful for the bronze. That judge did screw me over, and he knows he did it. Cameron got the gold, and he got the gold at NCAAs this year. He deserves it. Still a little salty, though. Still a little salty. It's a cool story. But lesson learned, wait for them to raise the flag. And you know what? For me, I'm not even going to lie. Why it hurts so much, and like why I sound like I am salty, is because the P-bar routine I did before, there was no flag being raised. It was just a judge saluting me, and they said they didn't raise the flag, and that's why I shouldn't have gone. But it was only one judge that said he didn't raise the flag. The other 3 saw it and judged it. So you can't really see that well from super far. So I see them looking at me, and I think I see a hand. I'm saluting, right? I'm the only one in the meet doing anything. Anyway, he knows what he did. And he can pretend like he did, but he knows what he did. Anyway, God bless him. And then, oh wow, I got another one too. My sophomore year was probably one of my best years, to be honest. NCAA's, I would go to win an 8th place All-American in the all-around and qualify myself to U.S. Championships 2022 in that August. So, you know, I'm getting my accolades, but I'm also like showing, hey, like I'm here. I'm knocking on the door. I want to make national team, and you know I'm doing it. And I also got the MVP award for 2022. So, sophomore year, quite a few accolades to run with. All right, guys. So now let's talk about probably my most and debatably best year and most crucial year to my life, which I would say is my 2023 season. You know, it was a rough year outside of the gym for me. I had a lot of things going on, and I was a mess emotionally, mentally. I was super unstable, and I didn't know how to take care of myself, the way a human should take care of themselves, and I just didn't have any self-control at the time. And through that, I would go on to, well, first of all, I got my 5th concussion at that U.S. Championships that I just had qualified from NCAA's the previous year. Couldn't compete, working really hard, super upset because I think I deserved to be on national team. I get another concussion December. No, I got the 5th one December of my sophomore year, right before the season. 6th one right before U.S. Championships, so 6 months apart. And then the 7th one comes at Winter Cup. And if you don't know the story, I've told it on my YouTube. I'm going to tell it again in a testimony. But this is the one that led me to finding my faith in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And truly, I believe He saved me by showing me how He could turn all that bad stuff into so much good. 7 concussions, right? And if it weren't for the 7th one, I don't think I would have seen it, because He showed me all these, you know, 7 weeks from NCAA's. It was the 7th meet of the season, and where is it? Right here. I was number 7 at the competition, and I would go on later to be number 7 again at Classics, and then at U.S. Championships. And another one's somewhere else right now, but my car says 77,777 miles on it, so I'm freaking out, right? Like, you know, I don't know what do you think about coincidences or anything, but I believe God was like, hey, if you don't turn around, you know, if you don't start seeking me, if you don't realize that you're a mess, and you can't do anything apart from me, then like you're in danger. And I already was. I was in danger. You know, like I said, all these things are true. I was super emotionally unstable. I really didn't even realize it, even for a couple years later, but I get the concussion, I have 7 weeks till NCAA's. And, you know, at the beginning of the year, I did get one award at West Point Open. I got 6th place on parallel bars, which, you know, isn't, I think I fell in the routine. I did fall in the routine. But anyway, it's like, I was not very happy with this one. But I'm glad I got it. But I just wasn't happy with the routine. It's a cool award. I just wasn't happy with the routine. Either way, you know, it was what it was. But NCAA's, I will go on to get my first Pommel Horse All-American, my first and last. 8th place. I did the easiest routine of the meet, but had the highest execution. and that would reward me with this. It was wild because I was told my career was over by a lot of people, and then I had 2 weeks of training before the championships, and I was able to step into lineup and get this. Coaches trusted in me, and I got the job done, and it was really cool because I knew I didn't deserve it, but God gave me this abundant grace and kind of took over my entire routine, and it felt like He did it for me, and I didn't even understand, but I was thinking about my grandpa because it was his 100th birthday on that day, and I'm thinking about him up in heaven, and I don't know where the verse is in the Bible or what it said or what exactly it says, but we should have our treasure in heaven, because if our treasure is here on earth, all that stuff goes away. And I wasn't thinking about this award. I was thinking about my grandpa being in heaven, and that was my treasure. And by that, God felt like literally like came down and like I couldn't even describe it in the moment, but it felt like the Holy Spirit came down, took over my body, did the routine for me, and then woke me up and said, hey, take this. This is a gift. Understand this later. I know you won't now, but you'll understand it later. And I think I'm starting to understand it finally. Either way, that next summer, I would do a lot of soul searching. I would realize that I was really wrong in most of the ways I was living. Really, everything I did at the time was solely focused on how could I max out my success, or how could I max out the way I appear to others? How could I max out everything that will go away? How can I max out my life here on earth? How can I max it out, right? And that notion of maxing all the pleasures out leads me to, well, first of all, I was told by a lot of close friends and family that I was not living a life that would reach my goals. And that was part of the maxing out. I wanted to reach my goals. I wanted to go to the Olympics. And we only had a year left. So, I'm determined. And I see this goal and I'm like, I'm gotta do it. I'm gonna do it. Let's get it done. But everyone's telling me I'm not living the right way. And soon enough, I would realize that I definitely was not winning or going to the Olympics the way I was living. So eventually I realized that the team culture I was a part of and probably had developed myself, or at least partly because of me, undoubtedly, was not a place that could foster an Olympian, could make someone great. And that hurt because I felt like the culture we were a part of was letting everyone on my team down. And we were blind to what needed to change, other than, we just thought we needed to do better. And it was much more than that. It was we needed to not do what we were doing. Either way, so like that led me to church. I went and took some teammates to my church, Holy Trinity, and it was beautiful. For me, returning to the church, it felt like I had returned home, and for the first time in decades. Like the prodigal son story, that was me walking in there, and I heard exactly what I needed to hear, but I also still had this idea that I'm trying to max out my life. So I went to church and I was like maxing my holiness, right? I was maxing my potential of God giving me something great, right? And I'm like doing all these things. I'm starting to learn how to walk faithfully, but still have a very hard heart and very earthly, very secular, very, very pursuit of trophies attitude. And this would lead me to, well, I did give up a lot of things. I started changing my life, but then I would show up to the meet. I wouldn't make national team that summer, and even though I got to compete and I was healthy and I got all these great things, I was bawling my eyes out because if I thought God had forsaken me because I gave a little bit of time for him and he didn't let me make national team. So the heart's still hard. And I go through that next semester, working harder than I'd ever worked, training like in the gym more than I'd ever been. And this was not good for my body, but I wanted it bad, and I made a lot of gains. I learned a lot about myself and about the sport in that semester. By the end of it, I have a desiccated disc in my back, which means it's dehydrated. It's L5 to S1, or no, yeah. So my lowest disc, and I would also be out for the beginning of season because of that. Eventually, I would make it to Big Tens, and I had this burning desire to become a Big Ten champion, and it's something I believed I could do, and I worked really hard. So why couldn't I do it? My goal is the Olympics. This is just a stepping stone to get to the Olympics. It's something that I'm gonna do, and then I'll go win the next one, and then the next one. And I believed I could do it, and the first day I didn't, and I'm praying to God about it. Show me this path. Show me the path to becoming a Big Ten champion. I don't do it on all around. I don't do it on P-bars. I have one more chance high bar, and I realized in that moment that if I was going to be the Big Ten high bar champion of 2024, then the routine was going to be easy and smooth, and everything would just work out. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, so what do I got to do? And it was just do what you normally do. And okay, so visualize, chalk up. I was happy because we talk about our salvation hat. That I felt like I stepped into that. I had my salvation hat. I already had one before I even chalked up. So I'm not too anxious. I'm not anything other than, my 8-year-old self is gonna be hyped about this, and my 80-year-old self is also gonna be like, thank you for trusting in what was to come. And lo and behold, this is my second high bar routine of the entire year. The first one was the day before, and I got the Big Ten gold medal. Such a reward, and this one is my favorite because I did this one with Jesus Christ, and I learned the most from this one. It was lessons that I could immediately take. Little did I know that if you pray to be humbled, that God will humble you. And I prayed to be humble after this one because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And NCAAs would not go the way I wanted. It would end up with me on my face at the end of the meet, both days, and devastated because that journey of making it to the 2024 Olympic team would be ended there. And that crushed my soul because even though, I'm in church now, and at a point it was I'm going to church to get better at gymnastics. Halfway through that senior year, it turns into doing gymnastics to glorify God when I win the Olympics. And then I didn't go to the Olympics, so now I'm a little lost for the summer. But all I know how to do is work hard at that point, and I know how to have fun. But all I know that I can do is work hard. So I go home for the summer, and I decide I want to be home the whole entire summer. I spend the summer at home, and I do way more high bar than I needed to do, and just way more gymnastics in general, but maybe not way more than I needed to do because I did it. Way more than my body wanted to allow me to do, because that would result in a torn labrum and a really weird coming back to school. Either way, all that training that I did do would set me up to be where I'm at right now, and this is the best I've ever been, and I've barely done any high bar in the past year other than the summer. But I did so much that summer that I feel like my summer training on high bar last summer was enough to compare to a year's worth of training for most people in the entire NCAA, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I did a lot of high bar. So, and I think where I'm at, if you would see the clips, you would understand that that's very true. Either way, I enter my 5th and final season at Penn State with a torn labrum and a very unsure mind and heart. What do I do? Do I get surgery? Do I try PRP? Do I just do rehab? well, first instinct is let me do rehab, and if I can get myself to be able to do high bar by this month, then I'll compete. Eventually, I realized that Penn State had given me more than I deserved, and they were very faithful to me in my career, and that I owed this final season to them. And at that point, it was, I don't care if I'm going to compete high bar, I don't care what I'm going to compete. I just want to play my part as part of this Penn State team, and I want to do the best I can do for them. At that point, I'd been missing from the church for a little bit. I think the summer kind of set me off, and I was pursuing the wrong things a little bit again, but eventually a return to the church would change my heart in a way I never knew it would, because we have this thing called Penn State Christian Athletics, and this is, I think, before I started going again, but this man, Timotheus Pope, he was talking about Genesis 22 and how Abraham was called to give up his son, Isaac, as a sacrifice to the Lord. And he was fully willing to do it. And he went there, he was about to do it, and in that moment, God said, stop, don't do it, and here you use this ram in the bushel instead. And learning about that made me realize that I had to give up my career to God. I had to give up my health, and I had to give up my whole life. Because talking to Timotheus, I told him that I was pursuing God to get better at gymnastics, and then I was pursuing gymnastics to glorify God, and then he made me realize that it's about pursuing God to be with God. It's about being with God to be with God. It's not about doing gymnastics for God or doing God for gymnastics. It's God for God, and it's only that. And in that, you can still train in prayer. You can do everything you do with God, but it's not pursuing God for this outcome of, I want to win the Olympics, so I'm going to go to church. It's not that. It's about being with Jesus, and that's it. And realizing that, it was weird, because I pretty quickly after that next week, I sprained my AC joint, and it looks like I might be out for the season. No one's sure if I'm going to be able to compete the rest of the season. I can barely move my arm at all. And I was so grateful. I was beyond stoked. The career wasn't in my hands anymore, and I had prayed for that to happen, and this was my opportunity to walk faithfully and to let Jesus Christ take over and do whatever he wanted with my final season. I was a little disappointed because I wanted to not let my team down, but it wasn't up to me, and it never was. But this is the first time I knew that, and so I just walked with them. I cheered my team on. I played my part with the camera, and I learned a lot about that. And when you step into that trust, God gives you this grace, especially when you first step in, that you never knew existed, and that you don't deserve, because I didn't deserve it. But my shoulder healed faster than it ever had, than anything had ever. Like, I don't think anyone has recovered from that AC grade, that bad of a sprain, to do what I was doing as quick as you would have ever known. Even to the point where I came back to high bar, which I wasn't doing all the first semester. I couldn't. My shoulder was too bad because of the labrum. But God takes my AC joint and takes my career into his hands and heals me, gives me this abundant healing, to where I'm able to do more than anyone had expected, more than I expected by the end of season. I didn't get to do high bar to help us win the Big Ten regular season championships, and I also didn't get to do it at Big Tens because I would have like a little flare up on my shoulder. But I did get to compete at NCAA's, but it's not even about that. It's just still about just walking with God, and getting to, first of all, Big Ten regular season champions. We're getting rings, and so stoked about it. It's awesome. The team did that for me. I gave up my career, what I wanted to be my last season for the team, and they gave me that ring. I was a part of it, but they gave it to me truly. And I can never be more proud of this team and more thankful. But at the same time, we get to NCAAs and I compete, and I'm thinking this story is going to end with me sticking my dismounts, us becoming national champions, and it's the road of a lifetime. That was not for us. That was not for our team this year. I have some inclination why I have some thoughts of my own, but that's for the team, and we understand where we went, maybe a little sideways and what happened, but it was a rough go for us, day 2 at NCAAs, and a rough go for me both days. Needless to say, I ended again on my face, on P-bars, last routine, and that hurt because it was over. And it was over. But you know what was so beautiful about that? Jesus was still waiting for me on the other side. And I'm so blessed to have a community. NCAAs was in Michigan, so was Big Tens, and that's my home, as you guys all know. And I have a lot of friends and family there, and I was blessed to have the group to take me to go to the Pascha celebration that night after NCAAs, and I showed up a little late because the meet ended late, and I got ready, I showered, put on my suit, showed up, and that was all I actually needed, was to go there and to celebrate the resurrection with my friends and my family. I think the coolest part about the entire weekend was I had my candles from Pascha, and I ended up going to see everyone at the NCAA celebration after the competition, and I didn't I didn't put my candles out or leave them in the car. And I told my friend, I said, I don't know, should I just leave them in the car? Like, no, I mean, if you want. But then I was like, nah, I'm gonna bring him in. And then I'm like, hey, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous, people are gonna think I'm weird. And then she's like, no, you're on a mission, and I was like, yeah, you're right, because that's what I said. I was gonna tell him Christ is risen. That's it. That's what it is. So I got into the party, and before you know it, people are, what are the candles for? Why do you have candles? What is this? And I was, Christ is risen. And everyone's just like, whoa, it's Easter. And it was really cool. Because that, I was so scared of persecution in that moment, but I really got to, I wasn't even trying to do anything. I was just trying to hold my candles because I didn't want to let them go out. But I got to let a lot of people know that Christ was truly risen. And that's the most beautiful way to end my NCAA career. On Easter, on Pascha, on the celebration of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So yeah, I think I came to Penn State to win trophies, which I did. I came to Penn State to find a group of people that would propel me to success here on this earth, and little did I know I would actually come to Penn State to return to the church, to find a community that understands a soul, that understands the purpose of this life, and to find that at first you need to have nothing to then receive everything. If you think you have everything and you hold on to that everything that's truly nothing, you could never have everything. But if you have nothing and you allow yourself to have nothing, you're opening yourself to receive everything. So it's probably not going to make a lot of sense to some people, but it's the truth. So yeah, this has been the ride of a lifetime. Got a few more things. The team gave us framed. The school gave us these framed uniforms. Also got a clock for graduating, but got some pictures of me. But yeah, as I journey into this next part of my life, a lot of people are wondering what's next, and I know I'm gonna keep training. The goal is still to go to the Olympics, but I'm not gonna do it because I want to win, which I do want to win, but I'm doing it because I love gymnastics. And gymnastics has become an idol in my life, but that idol eventually led me to Jesus Christ. So I feel that I owe it to gymnastics to keep going a bit longer at least. I don't know where that's going to be or what exactly I'm going to do. All I know is that I want to continue, and I want to give back to you guys what this sport has given to me and what I've found here at Penn State. So keep your eyes open, because if you're a young athlete or you wanna learn a little bit of how not only faith can help you in your sport, but can help you in your life, and how orienting yourself in that manner can lead to a life of fulfillment, even if not, no matter what. The epitome of be eternal. And keep your eyes peeled, because I got something coming soon for you guys. So yeah, with that being said, peace, love, and as always, be eternal. Thank you for watching.